little malfunction here in the. I feel so powerful because I'm sitting now in the desk where everything happens. So, you may have to try and control me because I have this sudden sense of
power.
Anyway.
Okay, we are now live streaming. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70, Procedural Bylaw 2018-117, pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. And with that, we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Now, I did get a recommendation that it be amended, and I just want to confirm with Sue, do you want it amended to include the PowerPoint presentation from the Renfrew County ATV Club?
Yes, please, as well as removing item 6.1.1.
6.1.1. Okay, that I wasn't aware of. Just a sec.
The Aqua update, there was a duplication. Some of those invoices that were listed on there were actually approved under special council meeting.
Okay, all right. So then what we are doing is removing 6.1.1. And we are amending to add the PowerPoint presentation from Renfrew County ATV Club. With that, the recommendation is that the council and committee meeting agenda for Tuesday, October 6, 2020 be approved as amended. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bromwich, seconded by Councillor Kuklinski. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
No. Here.
Seeing none, we're going to move to delegations this morning. First, we have a delegation, Teresa Gamble from the Renfrew County ATV Club. She's the president, and it's regarding a memorandum of understanding, signage, and an unopened road allowance. Teresa. Welcome, Teresa. We will let you proceed. You will need to, that's it, great, you're unmuted.
Perfect, thank you very much. Let me just bring our presentation up, and if you could confirm for me, please, that you do see the presentation on your screen.
Yes, I do see it.
Wonderful.
I'm getting nods from members of council.
Great, well, good morning, everyone. So it has been several years, I think, since Renfrew County ATV Club has had their delegation and had the opportunity to come in front of you. We're going to take a little bit of time this morning, briefly, just to provide you with an update on where we are now from the last time we visited, which would have been in 2017, and then to proceed with a partnership that we're hoping to finalize and formalize with Madawaska Valley. So let me jump right into it. You'll see on the screen, not only myself, but I'm proud to say we do now have a director for Madawaska Valley. It has been a few years since we've had a representative for Madawaska Valley on our board. And so Dan Finos, who has been a long time seasonal resident of the municipality, has retired and moved to become a permanent resident. And so welcome Dan Finos as your representative on our board. So I think what's most important for us as a Renfrew County ATV Club is the fact that we don't do this alone. This is in order to maintain trails, certainly the extent of trails that we have here in Renfrew County, including Madawaska Valley, does require a 360-degree partnership, not only from ourselves and our riders, but also our volunteers, industry, tourism, and our landowners and municipalities. And that is really key in order to ensure the success of trail tourism and to ensure the success of trails in our area as an economic enabler. We are a member of the Ontario Federation of ATV Clubs. There's 21 clubs in that federation, and we have just over 10,000 in annual membership this year. Significant increase, hopefully something that will continue to sustain itself beyond the pandemic. But this year, as you're aware, people unable to move and enjoy recreation elsewhere means that they're finding ways to enjoy recreation locally and at home. We have reciprocal agreements with a number of provincial riding federations. And then here within Renfrew County specifically, so we are maintaining over 1,000 kilometers of trails. So half of the Ontario Federation trail system is being maintained by your local club. We are members of the Ontario Trails Council, and we are governed by a board of 17, so a board of directors of 17 volunteers, and we've been incorporated since 2007. We're coming to you today for a number of things. First, we're going to update you since our last visit. I'd like to discuss a land use agreement and formalize that. Looking for your support for ATV route signage on some of the roads within Madawaska Valley so that our riders can be safe and are not getting lost on the trail system. The ATV trailhead and parking to formalize a designated space for vehicles and trucks and trailers to be able to park as a trailhead to get onto the trail. And then your support in further trail development. And we can discuss that and I'll share with you some of where we're hoping to move within the Madawaska Valley area. So as an update, the last time we visited, we had 118 annual members. This was early 2017. And so now this is where we are. We now have 977 annual members in Renfrew County ATV Club, and quite certain we will hit, actually we're even higher than that today. We're probably closer to 990. And so I would anticipate we'll be breaking 1,000 members this year, which is a significant increase even from last year. Last year, at the end of the year, we had 467. So we've almost doubled, if not doubled, our membership this year again. I'd like to think that a lot of that is because we're offering credibility to our riders. We let them know that they have value by riding in Renfrew County. We maintain the trail system. We do a lot to promote our area. And we let people know that they can trust us with their funds. It also represents a culture change that we're seeing from individuals who in the past would not purchase a trail pass. They would just ride Crown land. And now that they see the value of supporting Renfrew County ATV Club, they know what we're doing. They see the investment that we make in trails, and so are willing to support us back. On the right-hand side, just gives you a bit of a breakdown and some data on where our membership is coming from. Certainly in the past, only about 35% of our riders were from Renfrew County. Our local riders were not as supportive of the Trail Pass system several years ago, and we're seeing that increase significant. So our Renfrew County is now certainly well over half, if not 60%. But I think it's very important, especially for Madawaska Valley, to recognize that our membership is not just our local riders. We have a significant number of riders from across Ontario and even outside of Ontario and the US who purchase a Renfrew County ATV Trail Pass because they see the value in the trail system for Renfrew County. A bit of a glimpse as to where we've been since we last met. And some of the things that we've been focusing on. We have very specific intent in our organization to have a purpose each year and something we're striving for each year. So since we've last met, we've established and rebranded our trail etiquette. We've redesigned our trail system to align our trail systems with a more historic or heritage feel to them, so that we can add to that user experience and provide a little bit more connection for riders to the areas that they're exploring and the areas that they're riding in. We now have a clean equipment protocol. We're the only ones in Ontario who have a clean equipment protocol similar to what you would find on a boat, for example, where they're going from waterways to waterways. It's also equally important going from forested area to try to mitigate invasive species. We have a technicality trail rating, which allows our riders to be a little bit more aware of where they're going to ride before they hit the trail. And this year, with the lower number in events, we've been focusing on our WARDEN program and rider and trail safety. We've conducted a rider survey since we last met. This gives you a little bit of information about who our riders are. I thought this was specifically to address an issue that was coming not out of our area, but out of Lanark, where there was some negative press about who ATV riders were as far as a demographic of being a group of rule breakers and kids. And so we did our rider survey to indicate who our riders are within Renfrew County. So this just gives you a bit of a glimpse, not only from where they stand economically, their age group and demographic, what their professions they're coming from, and also their level of support to clubs as far as trail permits and how people prefer to ride, riding in groups or as a family. Some economics of ATV trail tourism. We're looking forward to seeing new statistics from Stats Canada. We work very closely as a member of the OVTA, the Tourism Association, and so they continue to feed us on how the tourism impacts. Certainly this year, I expect will be a significant impact again on our tourism in Renfrew County from trail tourism. In fact, the Ottawa Valley Tourism Association currently is looking at doing some marketing and rebranding of how to take advantage of some of the opportunities, tourism opportunities, and trail tourism and recreational motorized tourism is high on their priority because they recognize the intense value, and I'm sure you do as well on your council, recognize the value of both our winter and summer motorized recreation. I'd like to move into formalizing our partnership and what we're hoping to achieve from a club perspective. So the first thing I think that's important to explain is how we are funded. Unlike our snowmobile colleagues with Lucas, the ATV world is not funded by the minister. It's not funded through the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, nor is it funded through the Ministry of Transportation like the snowmobile clubs are. And so our only source of funding is our trail pass revenue. And so for that reason, it's very important for us as we're working with our landowners and our municipalities to help enable us with trail pass requirement on a non-crown land trails, because this is really our only revenue source to be able to then go back and provide signage, to provide our liability, third-party liability insurance, to do the maintenance requirements on our trails. In 2020, we've just recently had our annual general meeting. And so this year we're forecasting actually $88,000 that we've spent or plan to be spending by November 30th on our trails. So that means for us in Renfrew County, 85% of our total revenue that we receive from our trail pass revenue goes back directly into trails. And I think that speaks volumes to not only the integrity and the value of our organization, but also the value of trust that our riders are putting in us because they see that their trail revenue is going right back into trails. Not only does the user pay funding provide us and trail passes requirements provide us with the funding in order to do the work back, but it also enables us to provide things like greater enforcement of making sure our riders are insured and licensed. It allows us to work as an advocate and an ambassador for safer trails, multi-use trails, and trail etiquette. And it also provides a great model for trail maintenance. There's a number of municipalities that are looking for ATV clubs to partner with because they recognize that partnering with a not-for-profit allows them to access greater funding, development, grants, and to be able to have a robust group of volunteers to help support their land, whether it's a municipal or a county or whether it's a private land. So what does a land use agreement do? It's a standard land use agreement that we have with our municipalities and our private landowners. It also allows us in this land use agreement to sign, maintain, and promote the rail beds within Madawaska Valley. Much of this we've been doing informally to support the trail system, although we don't have anything on paper that formally allows us to sign to allow us to promote the trail. So really we're doing so, but we're doing so as a group of riders and not under a formal agreement with as a Renfrew County ATV club. We're looking for signage on ATV routes, both in Barry's Bay and Wilno, so that where the trail diverts onto a road, our riders, whether they're local or from from outside the area, and our drivers are aware that the road will be shared with ATVs. It also allows our riders to know which routes are we suggesting are the safest routes to get through town. So for example, instead of just going right down the main street in Barry's Bay, the ATV route would have you go behind and onto Pog Lake Road, for example. So by signing it as a designated ATV route, it allows us to not only manage some traffic with shared use, but it also allows us to keep everyone a little bit safer. We're going to be looking at our land use agreement for trailhead parking. We've suggested two, one at the Yakabuski Arena, which has sufficient room for trailers and ATVs. And the other one would be on Ignatius Drive by the water tower, a little bit of a smaller parking area. But those are the two that we've thought of. Certainly, if your staff and council have other suggestions, we would love to participate in that conversation. We are asking for an ATV trail permit to be required on Madawaska Valley's land within the municipality, where currently we have our trails that do not have a land use agreement. As part of this land use agreement, we provide the municipality with 10 million in liability. So that will also ensure consistent insurance. You are covered in the winter months with your land use agreements with the snowmobile clubs, with the Opeonga Snowbirds. This would allow you to then have that same opportunity throughout the other 3 seasons. It also provides us a solid partnership so that we can continue to access funds and volunteers to maintain trails. And it comes with the OPP Safe team and local enforcement and our wardening team that provides ambassadorship and helps promote safe multi-use trail etiquette. So the OPP Safe team is a team that does enforcement on snowmobile ATV vessel enforcement. So they come and work with us, with our trail wardens as ambassadors. We are the ambassador on the trail. We show them the trails, and they are there to address issues of helmets, of safety, of alcohol on the trails, of speed, individuals with unsafe equipment, etc. I wanted to let you know a little bit about our warden program. So our warden program has 3 pillars. The most important pillar is ambassadorship. So it allows us to work with relationships with our residents, with trail tourism, and provide a trail presence. Oftentimes it means being available, answering questions, providing maps, letting local riders know about the trail system, asking if they have questions about the trail system, letting them know what they can expect on the trail system while they're out there. We also provide rider safety. So we'll do safety stops, which will just allow us to, as riders approach, have conversations, welcome them to the trail system, find out where they're from, ask them if they've seen any hazards, or let them know if there's any upcoming hazards, do a little bit of rider education and talk about multi-use, which is critically important in the Madawaska Valley area, where multi-use is very heavily used. And then the third pillar is our permit enforcement, which is probably a lesser of our 3 pillars. It is important, but it's certainly not our primary focus. And it really is just to ensure that we have compliance for the requirements of the landowner. So if, for example, on the Ottawa Valley Recreation Trail that the county owns, their bylaw indicates no dirt bikes. So in that case, our wardens, if there are dirt bikes, we would be making sure we cannot lay a charge, of course, but making sure that they are aware that they are trespassing on that rail bed with a dirt bike. So that would be one example of how we can help support landowner compliance. Into trail development and some trail management. This actually is a photo of the work that we did. For some of you, you'll recall the significant washout the year that we had those huge floods. And the first of several, and this is just off of Pog Lake in the photo itself. So we are looking to try to develop the trail system that connects the Opeonga Trail to a number of other areas. So one of them is in south of Barry's Bay, Wilno area, connecting our trail system through to Combermere. I have not forgotten the request from council in 2017 from the councilman from Combermere saying, please find a way to bring tourism and ATV recreational tourism to Combermere. And so we now have a director in Madawaska Valley who's helping work on this. And we have our vice president in the Griffith area who's helping to extend those trails from Griffith across over to Combermere through Quadville and Palmer Rapids, and then connecting back up again to the rest of the trail system. The other piece that will be important is that We're just waiting for the final signing of a memorandum of understanding with the Hastings Heritage Trails and the Hastings County Trails. So that allows that extra 226 kilometers to get closer. Not only does it connect to Renfrew County through the Loggers Loop in Lake St. Peter, but we're also hoping to be able to eventually extend to Bancroft. So again, it creates more opportunity for riders who are to travel up into our area. So great news as far as trail development, and great news for tourism and for our tourism operators to see that we're trying to find ways to continue to bring riders to our area, which is significant already. It is one of the top destinations, but it also means that they can stay a little longer, and from Barry's Bay would now be able to not only go east and west, but they'd also be able to now then go south. And so that's one of the focuses that we're trying to do in your area to support the tourism there. For trail partnerships, you're likely not aware, but we now are a co-owner of our own grader with Snow Country Snowmobile Region. So this was a $1 purchase from the county of an old grader that we have refurbished. And so that means we now have greater capacity to get out and grade our larger rail beds. One of the projects we would like to endeavor to work with for the next season is coming up with a more permanent solution for the 51 trail, which is the trail behind Hello and Barry's
Hi.
Bay. You can see from the photo on the right, this is the issue we're dealing with. We've repaired that culvert several times already. I know the Snowmobile Club has endeavored to do the same, but it really needs a full rebuild of the trail to keep it safe and to make it sustainable and environmentally sound. We'd also like to continue to partner with the Madawaska Valley staff for trail growth possibilities. So there may be other opportunities to enhance rider stays in Madawaska Valley that we're not aware of. And so we would welcome their input if they see opportunities either through unopened road allowances or areas that we can help connect trails to provide a better rider experience. So our support to Madawaska Valley, we are continuing with our education and promotion of trail etiquette. So that means the safety of having the proper signage, the technicality rating, our trail standards, and ATV training and safety messaging. We will continue to be a partner for economic growth. We now have a mobile app called Quad On that riders can download and be able to track themselves on the trail. What this also means for us, though, is the ability for us to highlight official sponsors on the trail system so that when somebody is riding, they can plan their route, they know where to stay, where to eat, where they can go, which is a great value to our local businesses. We're looking to continue to partner on trail maintenance and management, and certainly providing that municipal and private landowners with the 10 million in liability insurance. And we will continue to be a champion on your behalf for ATV and trail tourism at trade shows, marketing, media, and events. I was asked to provide a little bit of input on Bill 107 and the operation of off-road vehicles on highways. So as you are likely aware, and perhaps not, but I'm sure you are tracking on this, the new definitions here in Ontario include not only the all-terrain vehicle, the recreational off-road vehicle, and multi-purpose off-highway utility vehicle, which were already in the Act, but it now also includes an off-ride motorcycle, which does not include passengers, and it also includes a new extreme terrain vehicle, which would be a 6 to 8 wheels, so similar to an Argo. The impact of Bill 107, it means that municipalities with the 80 km/h speed limit where it exists, like Madawaska Valley, would now have to have in place a reverse, so a negative response. You would have to now put a bylaw in place if you wish to prohibit any of the above on your roads. While this affects some RCATV members, we do have some members that are dirt bikes that purchase an RCATV trail pass so they can use the trails. However, we make sure that our dirt bike riders are aware that there are some trails they cannot ride, and of course that they cannot currently ride on roads. And I mentioned the example of the county rail bed, the Ottawa Valley Recreation Trail, or the Algonquin Trail, where dirt bikes cannot ride. However, for as far as Renfrew County ATV's perspective, off-road motorcycles and Argos do not meet the definition of an off-road vehicle for the Ontario Federation. Motorcycles, dirt bikes, for example, would be captured under the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders, who do not currently have a club in Renfrew County or the Ottawa Valley. So that's why dirt bikes are purchasing an RCATV trail pass so that they can still access our multi-use trails. But I am happy to answer any questions or provide any suggestions or advice within my scope when it comes to Bill 107.
Okay.
So in conclusion, what we're looking for is to finalize this land use agreement, to confirm our ATV route signage locations and trailhead parking, to continue to expand the user experience. So working with staff and with your RCATV's director, Dan Finnos, to find opportunities to grow and find ways to continue to support the trail tourism and community acceptance. So that means we have for example, we have an ATV safety rider course, newsletters, websites. I appreciate, Gwen, the offer to provide something in the newsletter, and opportunities to continue to engage trail tourism operators so that we can continue to build Madawaska Valley as a tourism destination. So that is my presentation. I apologize. I know I do speak rather rapidly, and it is a lot of information, but I do want to make sure that I've provided sufficient time for conversation.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. And I'm just hoping to get back. Yes, I got the screen back so I can now see all of council. Are there any questions for Teresa from council? Councillor Poplinski.
Hi, Teresa.
Good morning.
Hey there. Great presentation. And I was happy to see that you hear that you touched on Bill 107. That was introduced to us about a month ago, and I had some questions at the time about getting your club and the snowmobile clubs and so on all involved in this.
Mhm.
There seemed to be some questions about the fact that if township does not do anything about it, this automatically becomes law. You also touched on something, the fact that some of the off-road motorcycles are governed by another statute or whatever law. And I'm very concerned about the noise of some of these machines that they use and the motocross. And is that the type of vehicle that could be running our streets here in our township? Because I think we need a little more information, because in January it'll be too late to respond to this. So anything you can give us on that would be very helpful. And I don't want to take up too much time. The other thing I wanted to mention was that you mentioned about having trails to and away from Combermere. One of the biggest challenges that we've had over the years was to get a gas station there. I'm old enough to remember when we had 5 or 6 of them, plus gas on and all of the motel or the lodges and so on, and the marinas. Today we have nothing, and that's one of the biggest problems we have as a deterrent for people going into that Combermere area, and also down into there's nothing until you get to Maynooth, I believe it is. And the other way, there's limited or no gas in Palmer. So we have a big issue. So I would love to see your club, along with many others, get on board and help us to try and create this awareness. And so anything that could be done would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And Councillor Poplinski, to your question in regards to off-road dirt bikes and off-road motorcycles, I'm not a rider myself. My vice president does do both off-road dirt bikes as well as motorcycles that can do both on and off-road. So there is two different classes of motorcycles. So one that can, well, I guess 3. One, which is just strictly roads, which you would already have on your roads, Harley Davidson, for example. You then also have at the other far spectrum, a dirt bike, which is off-road only. So an off-road dirt bike that is not plated to ride on a road, and it can only be on the trails. And then you have a series of motorcycles like an enduro bike, where they do both on-road and off-road. So because I'm not the specialist when it comes to dirt bikes, I would be more than happy to have Rob Kilby, who is our vice president and very informed when it comes to these different types of motorcycles and what the Bill 107 will be, to provide a little bit of a brief note to you and submit it into council following this presentation so that he can provide you with a little bit of clarity as a rider himself. I'll also reach out to the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders. So this, similar to OFSC, which does snowmobiles, OFATV, which is ATV riders, the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders represents all those dirt bikes. They don't currently have a presence in our area, but I will reach out to them as well and see if they have a frequently asked questions that they can provide to help support council in their decision going forward.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
More than
Okay.
welcome.
Thank you, Teresa. That would be very helpful if council's going to have a discussion about limiting or restricting the types of vehicles that can use our trails and our roads, then it would be helpful for us to have that information at hand. Does any other member of council have any questions or any discussion on what's been presented? I'm not seeing anyone. Teresa, could you inform me of how many municipalities around us actually have a trail permit system for ATVs?
Well, I can tell you that the only ones that do not, so Watershare Valley does, Killoughby Richards does, North Algona does. I don't have one with South Algonquin yet. I just did a delegation to them, but they don't own their rail bed. That rail bed is Crown. So it's a bit of a different situation. Their trails are not owned by South Algonquin. So the remaining trail systems do. The county is the only other one that does not currently require a trail pass on the Algonquin Trail, although the trail south of Arnprior in Lanark does. So the permit is required on the Algonquin Trail, on the Ottawa Valley Recreation Trail till Arnprior, and then from Arnprior to Pembroke it doesn't. In Pembroke it does. Pembroke to Petawawa it doesn't. So what we're trying to do is make this a little easier for riders. It's very difficult for riders to know where they can and can't. Most of them choose just to purchase one anyway, rather than the requirement for them to be very well informed when they've gone from one to another. But I can tell you that the trail that will be coming up through Bancroft will be trail pass required. The trail going up to Lake St. Peter will be trail pass required. And the trails coming from the east, so from Bonnechere Valley, Killaloe, Haggerty, Richards are all trail pass required. And the trail coming from Round Lake, so the B Trail, which is the rail bed, the CN rail bed, is trail pass required as well. So around you, they are all trail pass required. The only place we do not require a trail pass, with the exception of the Algonquin Trail, is Crown Land. That's something the Federation is continuing to work with Ontario, with the province on, but at this point we do not require a trail pass on Crown Land, nor do we spend as much money repairing those trails for that very reason, because we have no control over who's riding it or the level of destruction that may occur on those trails. We sign them. We do work with MNRF to get have them validate the trails and give us permission to sign them, but we don't have permit. We do not require a trail pass on them.
Okay, thank you. And so Brunel, Lindock, and Raglan, are they trail pass required?
We currently do not have any trails in Brunel in that area, so that will be the area we're trying to build into now. And probably the majority of it, to my understanding, will be Crown. There may be a few municipal road allowances, in which case we would go for to a land use agreement with the municipality, but currently we do not have trails in that area.
Okay, no, I was just trying to understand the landscape, which has definitely changed significantly since 2017.
Yes.
So with your trail passes, with the funds you raise from that, you typically try to invest those funds into the trails in the municipalities that require trail passes.
Absolutely, and that is our primary focus. So when we're prioritizing our work, the first thing we'll address is anything that is an imminent hazard. So we'll deal with any of those imminent hazards where we are facing, either safety of individual or significant equipment damage. So we will address those regardless. Even when it's on Crown land, if we can't address it, we try to find a bypass and get a bypass approved, because sometimes the amount of money that we would have to put in with work permits with Crown land and getting equipment in there is too extensive, but we'll address those primarily. And then secondary, we're looking at the greater partnerships are with those municipalities where we have a land use agreement with. We do have a lease on the Ottawa Valley Recreation Trail, even though it's not trail pass required. And all the other municipalities, they are trail pass required.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from other members of council? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not monopolizing here. I'm just trying to think of some of the areas there, because things have changed since 2017. And I mean, this would be a change for our residents to be trail pass required. Is there the potential to phase that in to allow a period of time in which if council was headed in that direction, that we would say that they will be required 2022, say, and still have a land use agreement with you? Could we have some sort of in? Would that be something you would consider?
Absolutely. So we've done that in one other municipality in Bonnechere Valley for their rail bed, where what they wanted to do was for their first year make it trail pass required, and with an understanding that their local residents who are permanent residents would not need a trail pass for the first group of period of time. And so that certainly is something. We're not here to cause disruption and make it more challenging for our local riders. What we're trying to do is not only find a sustainable way to maintain these trails, but also to find a way to try to continue to encourage things like rider safety and trail etiquette. So those really are the primary reasons for a land use agreement. It gives us something on paper that says that, yes, you authorize us to put up signs. So every time somebody steals signs or takes away signs, we can indicate that we're doing so with the blessing of council to properly sign their trails. It also just allows us a little bit more legality when it comes to things like providing support for insurance, or if our volunteers are going to be working on your trails.
Okay, great. Thank you. That does provide us then with some flexibility to educate the public, not just suddenly come in with a trail pass system without that opportunity for education and building buy-in for this, because I would hate to end up in an adversarial position with our ATV riders, our local ATV riders. The other thing you're looking for is specifically parking at the Paul J. Yakabuski Community Center, and that may be challenging depending upon how much space that would be required for that kind of parking. I don't know if our operations supervisor he's probably listening in. Hillary, are you listening in? Maybe not. He could be busy. Oh, no, here he comes. Oh, well, we got Mike.
This is good sometimes, eh?
Sorry, Mike. I was thinking of Hillary, but Mike, you probably know better than anyone how much space we have at the arena and Yard 1 in terms of having an area where ATV parking for vehicles and trailers could be accommodated.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a huge issue. The only time that parking is an issue is obviously in the winter time, but with being an ATV club, obviously they're not going to be using the trails in the winter. So I couldn't see it being a huge problem to have a designated area for the ATV club.
Okay, do you see any concern with the water tower area?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay.
And
so
certainly,
that's good to know.
And Madam Mayor, we will continue whenever we're running an event where we're anticipating a significant number. We will continue to advise both your staff and your recreation staff to make sure that they're aware and make sure there's nothing else going on a large event. But really, for the day-to-day use, we're probably talking about less than a dozen at any given time. It would only be if we're running an actual event where we would have a significant increase, and we will continue to work with your staff in advance to secure that location and make sure that they're aware, and we deconflict any other events that may be going on.
Okay, that kind of coordination for a larger event would be critically important, just in case we accidentally had two large events happening in the same
Absolutely.
spot. Okay, Hillary, I see you're on. Did you have any concerns with the parking? Mike did speak to it, but I just want to make sure you've had an opportunity to speak to it as well.
I just stepped out. I don't know what the question was.
Okay, it's a request for parking to be made available at the Paul J. Yakabuski Community Center and at the water tower for ATV, for vehicles and trailers for ATV riders.
Yes, there is a sign there right now. We have a staging area for snowmobiles. Tends to work well. And at the arena, I can't speak on that because there is like tournaments and stuff. So that would be a little bit dicey there, I believe. At the
That
arena.
would be in the winter though. Not so much in the summer.
Correct. Good catch. Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else off the top of my head. Teresa, how is the relationship between the Snowmobile Club and the ATV Club? Like, are the two clubs coordinating because it's the same trails?
Yes, we absolutely do. In fact, we had a conversation last evening, and I got the chance to meet Lucas for the first time over the phone as the new man in the chair. However, we continue to work very closely with all of our snowmobile club partners across our area, our trail system. So while there's one ATV club, I'm actually partnering with about 12 snowmobile clubs, but we work together on projects. So if we're taking the lead, oftentimes they will support us, whether it's financially or with volunteers, and vice versa. If they're doing a project, they reach out to us and we help support. So sometimes we're the lead, sometimes they're the lead, but it is a very strong partnership that we continue to work very hard at.
That's great to hear. I think it's super important since mostly you're sort of sharing the trails at opposite seasons, that working together to ensure that they're well maintained and that there's not issues of one particular type of vehicle causing damage that then the other club is having to try to deal with as they get into their season. That's important, I think. Council, any other? Oh, I think I see Councillor Poplinski's hand up. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, Mayor Love, you asked the question that I was going to ask, but I do have another one.
Sure.
And it's related to the, Teresa, have you had any experience in being able to receive any sort of financial aid from the various producers of the ATVs themselves? And I'm just wondering if that is something that we should be doing, because if there's no place to ride them, then obviously they're not going to be producing them. And I'm wondering, they may have deeper pockets than the townships have and so on. So if we could engage those people, it would be helpful, and it would be nice to hear if they were already supplementing your endeavor there. But I would want to see that happen, you know, if we could.
Yes. It is a great question. And so the Canadian Off-Highway Vehicles Association, COHV, they have an organization that we're a part of. It's a multi-use motorized vehicles association. So it includes the ATVs, the dirt bikes, etc. And every year they provide the Ontario Federation with an amount of money, not significant. It's about $50,000 that they provide the Federation, and the Federation splits that out to the clubs based on grant requirements. So each year, Renfrew County certainly submits a grant every single year and takes advantage of that every single year. This year, we used that grant money. We received about $5,000. So again, not a lot when you have 21 clubs splitting 50,000, but we used that to repair two culverts, significant culverts on the B Trail and in Pembroke. But it is a partnership that we continue to use. Not only that, but locally, we have great partnerships with our local distributors. So although the COHV is at a national level of off-highway vehicle producers, we work very closely with Huckbones, for example, who've provided us with a side-by-side for our maintenance team. We've worked very closely with KEMAC, who's provided us with vehicles in the past for our trail maintenance team to be able to use. We've partnered with the Polaris dealers, even in Carleton Place. So our local supporters are very strong. In Petawawa, Banville, Pete's, they've all come on strong to support our local clubs, as well as what we're getting from the national distributors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
You're welcome.
Sorry. Oh, Hillary, yes.
With this land use agreement, I have to answer lots of when people call me. Will it be similar to like the snowmobile permit system where individuals can access their own private property or go fishing or hunting or whatever they choose without a permit? Because I noticed there's a farmer who uses the rail bed to access his property. And will he be required, or when he gets stopped, what is he going to tell the authorities?
Yeah, so what we've done is we have a land access permit. So it's basically a piece of paper that allows certain individuals to access the trail for those purposes, whether it's a farmer, whether it's somebody that can only use the trail to get to their hunt camp. So we actually will provide that to them, that they keep in their glove box or what have you. So if the OPP Save team or somebody questions, why is there a truck on the trail, why is there somebody particular on the trail without a trail pass, they just provide that to them. So in that regard, it's very similar. Where it's a little bit different is because the Snowmobile Club has legislation that says thou must purchase a trail pass. When it gives the exclusion that says if you're going to access Crown land, because even for snowmobiles, they have to have a trail pass even on Crown land. So if you're going to go hunting or fishing on Crown land, you need to buy a trail pass. So that therefore the legislation allows for, if you're going for the purposes of hunting and fishing and you're using the trail to get there direct and not recreation, you can do so without a trail pass. Again, that they're speaking for the most part in the context of Crown land. Whereas for the ATV side, we do not require a permit on Crown land anyways. If somebody is using the trail non-recreationally, our wardens are not in a position where they're going to be putting themselves in a position of conflict. They're not able to lay a charge directly. They have to engage the OPP regardless for that. It really is more of an educational role on our part. And so if somebody says I'm using the trail to get to my hunt camp, to get to my cottage, to get to my to hunt or fish, etc., then generally speaking, it's acceptable. Again, the biggest difference we see is the Snowmobile Club will use that when people are trying to access Crown land to get to hunting and fishing, and that's not the case for ATVs because we do not require a trail pass on Crown land. So really the only trail that would require a trail pass in your area would be the rail bed. And then we do have some private property owners coming off of Arbor Vitae Road where there's a trail pass required.
Thank you.
We cannot provide, we have had requests in the past asking for us to provide a permit for them to access the trail, but it's a private property. And so under no circumstances do we allow somebody to use the private property trail without a trail pass because it is private property. It is not public land at all.
Okay, does that clarify that for you, Hillary?
Perfectly.
Okay, any other questions at this point? I'm
So
not.
I do have one question,
Lisa.
if I may, Madam Mayor, and that is whether or not council is looking at putting any submissions in for the Rural Economic Development Grant that's upcoming when in regards to trails, because there are a number of grants that come up very rapidly and they're looking for shovel-ready projects, in which case we have a number that we are tracking on the trail systems. And oftentimes these are much more successful when we can partner with municipalities, with other stakeholders. So oftentimes we'll submit a grant with support from the local landowner, with the snowmobile clubs, ourselves, and any other stakeholders. So if there are any that you're looking at currently and looking for partnership when it comes to trails, we would certainly be interested in hearing about them and finding out how we can continue to partner to turn our $1 into 10 with the help of some of these grants.
Okay, and I'm not certain of that, so I'll maybe ask the CAO if she can respond to that.
Thank you. I can state that this intake of RED, lower tier municipalities cannot apply. This intake is specific to regional impact. And I know that our recreational coordinator has more information on that, Teresa, so you may want to give her a call after this call.
Perfect, because from our view, Renfrew County is regional. So
Yes.
While the municipality is really just focused on their municipality, for Renfrew County, we have, of course, the entire region of Renfrew County and South Algonquin. So it does allow us to meet those parameters. However, it also allows us to then kind of move money to specific municipalities based on any requirements that they have. So please do reach back out to us.
Will do.
Okay, anything further at this point? I'm not seeing any other questions from council or staff. So I'm just trying to think, where are we at here? Do we have a copy of an agreement, of a land use agreement? Teresa, did you provide us with a draft?
I've provided some examples to Gwen yesterday. So she has the example for Killu, Haggerty, Richards, and for Bonnechere Valley. And I'd be happy to draft up the one for Greater Madawaska. And that way the appendix and annex speak specifically to your trails and the trails in your area. And I can include now the 2 parking areas, as well as which roads we're looking for permission to sign as an ATV route through town to connect up the trails, both in Wilno as well as in Barry's Bay. So I'll provide one specific to your area, but she does have the land use agreement examples from Killu, Haggerty, Richards, and Bonnechere Valley.
Okay, Teresa, you've got to do Madawaska Valley, not Greater Madawaska. I know.
Somebody should have
I know.
done it differently when we're trying to separate those two between Greater Madawaska and Madawaska Valley. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we do often get their mail and vice versa. So,
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
okay, council, do we have an appetite to see a draft agreement? Something that potentially could be phased in over the next year in terms of our local residents and a requirement for a permit. I'm just putting that out there. Is that something you'd like to see come back and have a detailed look at?
Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing some concurrence to that. So Teresa, I know that's a fair amount of work, but if you could draft that for us and, then that can be brought back to our next council and committee meeting for council discussion and to determine if we have any issues with it. Sue, would you have any concerns with that?
No, actually, what I was going to suggest is that Teresa forward a copy of the proposed land use agreement that she would like council to sign. And I would add to that we include a staff report and that it expand on the pros and cons of granting approval to allow for permitting on our trails, that we have the detailed map that Teresa has just referenced as to the impact, and include clarification on the impact of signing the agreement for those who require access of the unopened road allowance, which our operations manager referenced, when they use the old rail bed for accessing their properties, the lakes, hunt camps. And if they do not have a trail pass, elaborate how the waivers would be used, how we get them to the property owners and whatnot. And I think I would also like to include the staff comments on the parking requirements, so we can actually on a site plan show what we feel would be less intrusive. And I could provide a draft facilities use agreement to allow for those special events. So you probably know ahead of time when they need to be. And I would attach that as well to the report after Teresa has vetted it as well.
Okay, that would be fantastic. And I do think we do have to allow for opportunity for the public to respond, because this is headed in a direction that is new for this municipality. I would like the public to have a chance, should they have concerns, to be able to be delegation to council and speak those concerns, or to be able to write into us with their concerns. So I think if we move with that step next and see what a draft agreement looks like, that will also provide opportunity for public input into this question. Any other comments, questions, thoughts from council at this point on this particular issue? Okay, I'm not seeing anything.
Sorry, one more, just quick.
Stephanie, yes.
Just one question. I did get an email from Lisa. Hi, Teresa. And I just wanted to ask, do the other municipalities that you partner with, are they corporate memberships for within your organization?
My municipalities are not corporate members. The tourism operators are. So a number of tourism operators are corporate members. My municipalities currently are not a corporate member. So they are supporting, so we have a corporate membership program, I should say, for our council, which has 3 tiers. It allows our trail tourism operators and business supporters to support Renfrew County ATV Club. I guess in exchange for us pushing the tourism their way and promoting them. So there's 3 tiers, 350, 500, or 1,000, and it's $1,000, and it's for a 2-year corporate membership, which gives them voting rights on our board, as a member. However, our municipalities, for the most part, have land use agreements, which enables us to then, provide an opportunity to fund ourselves versus them funding us directly. And we also will partner with them when it comes to specific projects, like we did for the culvert project several years ago. We provided the volunteers, we paid for the equipment, staff provided, helped with floating expenses, delivery of fuel, and a culvert. So we tend to partner more so on projects versus becoming an actual corporate member as a municipality.
Just checking.
Okay, great. Teresa, when you provide us with that information, could you also give council some sense of what a membership, what a trail pass costs? Honestly, I don't ride ATVs. I haven't a clue. And is there a family scheme for trail passes? Could you maybe just send us back some information so that we're just aware of what it is we would be asking of the public in terms of their financial commitment if they're going to ride our trails?
Happy to do so.
That would be great. Thank you. Is there anything further from staff or council? I'm not seeing anything. So thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas, for listening in. We appreciate that the two clubs are working together and trying their best to make sure that our trails are in excellent shape for both ATVing and snowmobiling. I think it's fantastic that you're both going strong, and it's certainly a great addition to tourism in Madawaska Valley.
Great. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
No problem. Thank you. Okay, we will, I guess what we'll do is we'll move to our next delegation. We have Paul Thompson. Now, I'm hoping, Paul, that you actually got things to work for you. Paul Thompson from the Madawaska Valley Food Bank regarding 1090 Farmer Road, the Golden Years Activity Center. Paul, let's see if we can.
Don't believe Paul can actually talk, so I will talk for him.
Okay, thank you, Tish.
Yes, we're here today to ask for the use of the municipal building in Combermere, the one on 1090 Farmer Road. And we would like to use this building to better serve our community and our clients and our volunteers. And this building gives us the ability to have running water, which we don't have now. It gives us the ability to have space, and it just provides a much better location for us to serve our community. One of the things we want to ensure is that this will not involve new costs for the township. We will be responsible for our utilities, and also we carry a $2 million commercial insurance for the food bank. And we also would be willing to take care of small repairs, snow shoveling of our ramps and items like that. We right now, I'm sure that some of you know, we are in a small garage, and we're in a space where during COVID, we have to actually serve our clients outside, and that means our volunteers have to stand outside for 3 hours in whatever weather it is, because we cannot bring anybody into our building because the space does not allow us to do it. We do not have a room to interview our clients, so the confidentiality is an issue. And just the whole idea of COVID and social distancing in a building that's 19 by 19 has been very problematic. Mm-hmm. So we're asking for the use of this building. We're hoping that we can then provide a much better service. We can provide a safer service. And our community members now that walk to our food bank in Barry's Bay, we are looking into providing them with ways to get to Combermere. We've always looked for a space in Barry's Bay that would suit our needs. We did have a space for a year, but unfortunately we had to move because they needed the space for something else. But we have looked extensively in Barry's Bay for other spaces and have not been able to find a space suitable for us. We're really hoping that this space will kind of be our permanent home, or at least for a time being, that we can provide a better service. We, at the space we're at right now, we don't have a loading dock. We're thinking that in this new space, we get deliveries, we get pallets from that are offered to us from Feed Ontario and Food Banks Canada. And right now we have to turn away food because we don't have space in the building to accept it. So this is something that our clients would benefit from, us having a loading dock and more space to accept food and then be able to give food to our clients that comes from Feed Ontario and other places. We're totally community funded. We depend on our community. We have dedicated volunteers, and these volunteers have to work in very difficult situations, no bathroom, no running water. We're concerned about health requirements as well. So this building in Combermere just ticks a lot of boxes for us. And if you have any questions, we're willing to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Tish. So this is, you have been looking for quite some time to find a space to function as a food bank out of. And certainly I know you've connected with me a number of times about issues with just trying to deal out of a garage, and in the times of COVID to be able to move boxes of food from the garage to where it could be accessed by individuals in their vehicles. So you certainly have faced some challenges, along with the fact that the food bank is in more demand now due to many people having been unemployed for a significant amount of time, and some of our businesses being highly stressed and maybe perhaps unable to take back as many employees as they had prior to COVID. So our food banks across Renfrew County are actually struggling to keep up with the demand, and to make sure that those that are most vulnerable in our community are actually able to continue to eat good, healthy food and try to get through this difficult time that we're all going through. Do any members of council have any questions on this proposal? I would note to council that there is, at the moment, the building is not being used. I noticed Councillor Bromwich had his hand up.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Just one question here. We did have Loyalist College asked to use that building at one point to train PSWs. I believe that was a couple of years ago. I don't know if they're back in the game or not, but it would be, if they did ask for help this year for PSW training, would that kind of hurt the use of that for the food bank, or could they be a shared user in this particular building? I wouldn't want to sort of cut their application off if they did apply for use of that building. There was 18 PSW trainees that used that a couple of years ago when they had to go down to Bancroft from up this way to be trained for their 2-week course. And it was very difficult for a lot of them to get down to Bancroft. We offered the building for their use. So I'm just saying that could possibly come into play if they did, Loyalist College did ask again. I don't know if that would hurt the use of it or not. I don't think it would. I think we can accommodate shared users in that particular case. I just thought I'd bring it up because it had come up in the past.
Okay, Sue, have we had any request from Loyalists to you or Stephanie?
No, we have not.
Oh, okay, good.
So
Thank you.
And I will just, sorry, due to COVID, there would be a restriction on the limited number of people in that building based on 6 feet apart. So if Loyalists did come back to us and we were still under the same restrictions, we'd have to find an alternate building.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Paplin.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. And just want to say, Trish and Paul and Terry, thank you for the good work that you're doing. It is a service that we need to keep in the area. I guess I think it's, as you say, more than ever now. However, one of the issues that comes up in Councillor Bromwich mentioned the renting of the building. And that topic, of course, came up again more recently after the Loyalist College left, because of our diminished ability to bring in revenue right now. That's a building that is a it could be. And I understand, you know, this is a kind of a revenue neutral situation and it's great service for the community, but we're under the gun right now to try and get some more revenue. That building can be rented. And one of the reasons it didn't get rented, I understand some time ago, was because the issue which is being discussed right now with the Senior Citizen Friendship Club. And when they moved out, I think it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I was told that they lost some grants and by moving into the township hall. Now, I haven't seen that in writing. It was just something that was mentioned to me. And until the discussion with that particular group in the township, you know, comes to some sort of a decision as to what's going, I just can't see making a commitment today to be able to accommodate your requests. It's just, you know, these other things are going on. And I know they had a meeting last week. I wasn't able to attend because I was at a medical appointment in Ottawa, but there was a meeting and I'm waiting to hear back to see what the results from that was. So, you know, maybe we'll go back to staff and see what's happening there. And so that's my input at the moment. And I just think that we need to look at this other issue, which has been going on for some time and regarding the seniors. And okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I know the Seniors Club did move out of the building because they could not continue to afford the hydro costs for the building, the heating and the cooling for their use of the building, and they were paying those costs. At the time that they moved, one of the key things that they were challenged by was an inability to use the building to do the kind of fundraisers they were hoping to do, because the kitchen isn't a commercial kitchen. And there were public health requirements in terms of them having to have a more commercial kitchen in order to be able to do things like a strawberry social, the sort of events that they were more inclined to do. So the building may not be a good fit for them to move back. Again, we do have to establish that there still is a seniors group, a viable seniors group, and that they are able to, they need to be able to continue to raise some funds in order to be a viable group. Sue, I know you were in conversation with some of them earlier. Is there anything you can add at this point?
I did attend that meeting that Councillor Poplinski is referencing, as well as the recreation coordinator. The main reason for meeting was exactly for that reason, to see how the facility right now is working for them. We wanted to ensure that the memorandum of understanding reflected their use, because there were a couple of other groups that are using it, like the book club. So we clarified that that is under the umbrella of the Seniors Club. I did mention to them if they had an executive and if they were incorporated and if they planned on going back to the facility. And of course, the want is always, it's always nice to have your own space, but they said, the individual that was there said that they still have issues with being able to afford the utilities. So it is a monthly cost that they didn't have anything, they don't have enough revenues to offset. I did mention to them that the reason I was inquiring was we had, in case we did have inquiries from user groups, I didn't want to limit it if their plan was that they had been fundraising or something had changed financially, to allow them to go back into the building. One of the things that was mentioned was, to your point, there would need to be some retrofits to the kitchen. And they said when they were using it for events, there was an issue with, I believe, water use, if there was something also going on at the arena, sorry, at the community center.
Okay. All right. So at this point, we don't have any specific group that has used it traditionally that is looking directly to move back into the building. We also, as a municipality, do still carry the burden of having to provide at least minimal heat and in the winter to the building. And the food bank would be looking to pay your own hydro use. Is that correct, Tim?
Yes. And we would also be willing to share the building with other groups whenever necessary.
Okay, so that's something you could potentially organize. It is I know you've gone and seen the building. It is bigger than your garage that you're currently inhabiting.
And the way it's structured, one room could be like with tables for our clients to wait at, and the other room would be where our freezers and our food is. So that first room there could be available to small groups.
Okay.
Can I add?
Oh, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm on my third device here, so it eventually works, I guess. But we're only open for 2 mornings a month as well. So there's a lot of flexibility to accommodate other groups.
Okay, Sue.
And that was the question I had asked as well, if the food bank was amicable to, if there was an opportunity somebody wanted to rent it, the book club wanted to do a small event, and possibly if it's only 10 people and not 20 people, not that it's allowed at this point, but if we get to that point, if it would make more sense that they'd have access to use that room there, as opposed to the facility, if they were open to work with them as well.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I think this sounds like a good fit to me. I mean, it sounds like there's a fair amount of flexibility in what we can work around with the food bank. The building to me is sitting empty and has really been empty for a good length of time. And I think if we can help the food bank continue to offer the wonderful service that wonderful and needed service in this community, I think it's a bit of an obligation on our part, and I certainly would like to support this. I think we can put together a lease or agreement that allows for the flexibility, and if we did get to the day where we found somebody who wanted to rent it permanently, it could be terminated. But I think for now we really have an opportunity in a time of need to help the food bank out. So I certainly would support this.
Okay, thank you. Sue.
I wanted clarity as well. I do believe when we met, the food bank's long-term goal is to eventually be able to purchase your own space. Is that correct? Like to purchase, a home that could be, or a location that would eventually, that's the wish list, and you're always seeking funding for that. But I did want to add for council benefit that you had been looking at some point at different options, purchasing a portable, which was like an old school, or sea containers that in the interim you would be placing, either you were looking at some municipal lands, and we did provide you with a copy of the zoning conditions where they were permitted, where they weren't. And the issues were not access to water or sewer, and or the cost of connecting, and the zoning restrictions. So you had been looking at that previously to asking about this facility, correct?
That's correct.
Paul.
Yes, that was our thought, but we're not pursuing those options now, partly because the grants we thought were available are no longer available or not available.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, a long-term goal for the food bank would be to be able to acquire your own piece of property to function out of, but at the moment, funding may be a little slim in that direction. And I certainly recognize your desire to reinvest any funds that you do fundraise into providing the service that you're providing to the community, and working very hard to do that with minimizing your overhead at the same time. I can see this as a win for the municipality, certainly, because we wouldn't be continuing to pay for hydro at the building, and we would have a use in the building, which is, it's always good to have our buildings used, not sitting idle, and still at the same time having some flexibility to work with you in terms of other potential users and how we could work that out. That could be a big bonus for the municipality. Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mayor Love. I after what Paul, you just mentioned about using it two mornings per month, that's not very much. And it really would allow the usage of that building more for some community events. And when I say that, I look at this and I look at the hydro costs, and we might be able to work out a good deal for you where we look after the hydro cost and pick it up in some rentals. And I know that building can be rented because I've been there many occasions when it was being administered by the seniors, where they actually rented it out. They had birthday parties, they had anniversary parties. Right now, I think the fact that people are congregating in smaller groups, but they still want a place to go, and they would be willing. And I know I've asked in the past, in the last couple of years, to come up with a rental fee for that reason. We've had discussions about this. So I just think that if we sit down together, come down, look after what your needs are, and then have an agreement whereby the township can rent it out to other individuals or groups, and I think we can all get along. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Okay, Paul?
Well, we'd be very willing to do whatever would serve your purposes for use of the building like that. We're prepared to cover the hydro costs. Any savings for us on those in that front would be, we would probably use that to purchase more food for our clients, though.
Okay, I'm wondering if we could look at, just looking at the fact that your use would be different. There's the potential for there being increased hydro costs if you're running freezers and I don't know, freezers and refrigeration units of some sort. Is it freezers you're looking at mainly? Okay. But I think we're open to negotiation. That's what I'm hearing. Now, Stephanie, you had your hand up, I believe.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to council, so there is some storage in that building right now, and in the basement particularly, I'm not 100% sure what's all down there. Some of it might be senior stuff, some of it might be recreation stuff. And also we have been doing monthly inspections on the building, and there haven't really been any issues, except for recently we noticed a roof issue. So we're having staff go look at and potentially repair. But that's the only question I had for Tish and group was cleaning the building. Would that be something that you're willing to look after? And like, so that if we had people coming in there, as counselors have suggested, that it would be clean or something along those lines? I'm just interested in your thoughts on that.
I would say yes, we would definitely clean the building. We keep it clean all the time now anyhow for health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tables and chairs that are in there right now, would you have use for those, or would we need to find an alternate location to put that type of thing?
I think we could use some of them for sure. And then definitely the storage in the basement would be available. I don't think we'll be filling all that up immediately. We could always have that as an ongoing talk, maybe.
Okay, so could staff then, I think if we could get the food bank and staff together to look at how actually, go over the building, look at what's stored in the building, because, sorry, Stephanie, it's another adventure in sorting out storage and what needs to stay there and what doesn't need to stay there and could actually be exited out of the building. But maybe if we could get staff and the food bank together to review the situation and bring forward to council a draft agreement that would encompass some of the discussion here today and provide flexibility to the municipality at the same time as meeting the needs of the food bank. Is that something we could leave in the hands of the food bank representatives and staff? Sue?
Yes, I'd like to suggest that possibly we do a site visit there and then include a couple of the individuals that are available from the seniors group, because they can tell you what worked well. We would know maybe if they did have challenges there, what they were, and let them know that there is opportunity there to share space and what that looks like. And that would help us then to be able to draft the referenced agreement to bring back to council.
Okay, Tish, Paul, does that sound like a moving it forward sort of step?
That was great. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mirlov. I'm more than happy to attend. And if other member councils of council, I would encourage them to also and be part of that discussion. So I think it'll make it much easier. And I think there's also a time issue here. I would think that we have to do as a later. So let's get on with it and get it done.
Okay, so can I leave it with staff and the food bank representatives to make those arrangements and let council know of when that site visit is going to occur? And basically we'll have you folks work through the details so that this is something that we can get happening before there's snow flying.
Absolutely.
Good with that?
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. I'm glad to see this able to move forward and that we can accommodate and at the same time still have flexibility for our community to also be able to use the space. This looks like a really excellent solution.
Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate that you've come to us and we are really glad that we are working towards a solution.
Thank you.
Okay, council, would we like to take 5 minutes, maybe? Just a 5-minute break before we launch into the rest of our agenda. I'm wondering, would someone moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Schulist. All those in favor? And that's carried. Let's take 5 minutes before we start. Okay, I'm just waiting to see if Gwen is back and ready to continue.
Am I back?
Yes, I have you, Mark.
Okay.
I have Dave, I have Ernie. Okay, all right, so I'm assuming we're still live. It shows we are still live. So with that, I am going to call the meeting back to order. We're now about to enter our standing committees. All recommendations from the standing committees are recommendations to council and are pending the approval of council at a subsequent meeting. Our first standing committee is Operations, Roads, and Waste Management, and I'll turn it over to Chair Bromwich.
Thank you, Mary Love. Through you, Chair, I'm wondering, would we want to, the recommendations, do we want to consider each one separately, or do we want to wait till the very end after we discuss all the recommendations and then bring them up for approval? Like we could do 5.11 Public Works Capital Projects Update.
Chair, if we can just deal with every item as they come.
Okay.
Some of the reports don't have a standard resolution or recommendation.
Yeah. Okay, fine. That's cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.1.1, this is a projects update. And I'd ask Mike Phillips if he could give us his report. Thanks, Mike, very much.
Sure, Carl. Yeah, so I'll just go through all of the projects kind of, and then at the end, maybe I'll go back and let anybody have any questions on any of the topics. Probably the easiest way to do it. So we'll start with Pog Lake Road. Paving has been started and completed on the north end towards Rumleski Road. That's where they're stopping the paving for now, as they still need to put granular A and then, of course, the concrete work in the town section. There has been some concerns, I know, over the last little while with dust control and whatnot, but it seems as though the contract administrators have gotten a handle on that now. I've been out there a few times lately, and it's definitely been a lot better. Wilno Heritage Parks, the park, rocks were delivered by the township staff and contacted their contractor to have them placed in the hole there in the parking lot so that we can finish that project up, or that they can finish that project up, I guess. Chepesky Mills Road ditching scheduled for either October or November, depending on contractor, and it kind of works around this Pog Lake project too, as that's one of the haul roads they're using to haul material in and out. So we don't really want to set up a big ditching project and then have to be moving steadily to let the trucks come in and out. So we're just kind of playing that one by ear. The porta toilets and dock removed schedule will start after Thanksgiving, of course, with all the rest of our fall cleanup and taking all the parks cans and tables and stuff out. Smiglinski Stopa Parkway, a project was completed. Granular A, double surface treatment applied. I noticed a couple of people had asked about the surface when it was first done being loose, but as if anybody's been out there lately, it's pretty well fully compacted now. And the contractor did come back out and give it its final sweep, so it's actually quite compacted and it's quite nice there now. So that project's all tied up, so that's a good thing. The rail bed with conjunction with the Snowmobile Club, we've been working to take care of that flooded area, battled the beavers. Seem to be winning there. The tracks are no longer flooded in the section between town and Airport Road. We've been going out there steadily to make sure to keep that culvert cleaned out, and it seems like the beavers have moved on to a different area, as they've not been causing us much problems there lately. So that's a good thing. And then we're going to continue with the work on the rail bed this fall as we have time. Commermere boat launch, talking with the contractor, and he's thinking the first week of November, the boat launch, to get the paving and stuff done there. Notifications will be sent, obviously, when the date is confirmed, as we'll have to likely close the boat launch for a minimum of the day of paving itself. The Granular contract, I know they have brought in the crusher and the whole stockpile has been crushed. Applications should start anytime. I guess just with the contractor and dealing with some of their projects they're behind on, but the product's there, and then the application should be starting any day. As with the brushing, beginning sometime soon. I was talking to them a few weeks ago, but it is always nice to wait till the leaves come down to start the brushing and let people kind of things wind down. But it's a lot easier for them to do it when the leaves are off, so they can actually see what they're cutting and do a better job. Tandem truck, the cabin chassis was delivered to Gymcore the first week of October. Will be delivered to Gymcore the first week of October. Gymcore is the company that puts the plow and the box and all that stuff on, and they're hoping to have it completed for us by the end of November. So that's a good thing. Yeah, any questions on any of those items?
Any council member would like to discuss this? Anybody? We just accept it as information then and carry on then. And just give me a second here. I'm working off my iPad here if I can. That's if we can get it to download. And we have 5.1.2, which is a bylaw, fingerboard signs. And this is a bylaw that we should carry over. Hillary, could you give us some information on this as you've given us the report on it, please?
Through you, Chair. So there's two issues I'd like to discuss. The fingerboard.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go with the fingerboards first. How's that?
Cool.
So we have a policy for fingerboard. We had a number of 6x6 posts in the town center and around it, where somebody would pay $25 and they'd put on a fingerboard. Obviously, you can see the shape of them, and we're down to 5 or 6, kind of scattered all over the place. There's pictures of them. They're very haggard looking. And another one just dropped out 2 weeks ago, a fingerboard. Is her bed and breakfast is no longer used. So I'm just alluding to the chance that we should maybe get rid of this program in 2021. With the advent of GPS and everything, I believe and they are danger for snow plowing and stuff. You have to go around them, and there's 4 posts now. One at the arena, and there's 1 post on there if you look at your pictures. Then 1 at Dixie Lee, then 1 at the credit union, and the other one's at the corner of Metro and John Street. So the one at Metro has the Anglican Church on there, the source, and the hospital sign. I mean, the hospital sign, there is one on the main drag, so we can do it on that. I believe that this has outlived its purpose. No, so you can see the whole list of when it was really going well, and now there's down to 5 or 6. So that's the first request, to just dissolve this program in 2021. Any questions?
Kind of agree with you on that. These are kind of, maybe this should be history, eh? Like you say, GPS offers people the locations. And I don't think I've really noticed the fingerboard signs that much passing through town. So maybe their time has come. Anybody want to suggest an alternate? Anybody from council? To you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I think that one of the challenges we have is we have a fair amount of signage downtown anyways, and the fingerboard signs are getting well and truly lost. They're becoming part of the noise of signage and clutter, and possibly taking them out of the situation might make things a little better. I would certainly concur with you that most people, if they're looking for a business, they're going to go to their phone and they're going to just Google Maps, bring it up where it is. So, you know, the world has changed and moved on. This was probably a great program in its time, but the lack of use of the program indicates certainly to me that people with businesses have moved on to other means of finding their businesses, and perhaps we could just remove this little bit of additional visual clutter from our community.
I agree, and I think maybe we could go with the recommendation option number 2 to move it along. Could you read that for us, Suzanne, or?
Yes, if I may, through the chair, that bylaw 2015-110 be rescinded with no replacement.
That's
That's not it.
Oh, sorry.
no, that's
Bylaw 2015-110 signs and bylaw 2012-77 fingerboard signs. So you had under there your option 1 and option 2.
that's for 215-110. So I simply alluded to the thing that we should dissolve this program in 2021, the fingerboard thing.
Bring it back up in 2021.
So you have no resolution, no recommendation
No.
on this table addressing
Oh, okay.
that.
To dissolve this program in 2021.
Okay.
I saw your hand up, Mayor Love. You got anything to say? No, that's fine. So we'll look at it in 2021. Is that the case then, Hillary?
No, we wouldn't rebuild in 2021 that $25 times 5 and just remove them and give them back to the owners. They are in rough shape. I doubt they want them back, but
We need a recommendation, don't we? To you, Mayor Love.
Chair, could I just move that we dissolve this program beginning in 2021? And then once staff can bring the bylaw back to be rescinded in 2021, but I'd like to move that we dissolve the fingerboard sign program in 2021.
And could I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that.
Okay, and any further discussion on it? All in favor? And that's carried. Dissolved. Now, where do we go from here, Hillary? We've got,
so now we're going to go on to the bigger challenge.
okay,
So we have bylaws for signs in our township, 215-110 signs.
Mhm.
So I've been tasked with trying to implement this program. I don't know if it's me or whoever. It really doesn't make sense to me. So what we're doing here is we're going to be charging people to put signage once they're approved by me on private property and charge them an annual fee of 100 or 150, whatever category they fit into. So there's a host of problems. First of all, the bylaw references items that I have no idea, but it references MTO per signage program. So obviously we wouldn't control county property on private land because they have their own on private property. We'd have no jurisdiction or on the right of ways. We definitely wouldn't stick our nose into the province's highway system because they have their own sign and on private property. So then I'm dealt with enforcing these signs on private property wherever there's a township road. I read that. So to me, that's a township road, like in town. So I gave you two options. I've only actually had one. The other ones that I've had is interpretation. If they meet a certain threshold, if they're too small, if it's a business that's run out of the home, they're exempt. And I don't know where business identifier signs fit into this realm. Like, what example could I use? Who requested water tower? There's a big sign in their yard and they want a replacement. They want to fix it up because there's new owners and stuff. Do I issue them a permit? Because it's a business identifier. I've read this probably 30 times. I even had my coworkers help me on this. they couldn't interpret it themselves. I don't know if I'm missing something. So I gave 2 options. Rescind this bylaw or bring back a more user-friendly one.
Sounds like we should rewrite this, make it a little more easy for you to people to understand. Other townships possibly might have a sign bylaw that would lay it out a little bit clearer than this. To you, Mary Love?
Thank you, Chair. I think just rescinding the sign bylaw would put us in a position where we may find an exceptionally large sign stuck up somewhere where it is obstructive to the visual requirements of traffic, or perhaps some individual private property owner would find it very obstructive if it was stuck on their neighbor's front lawn. This bylaw, while it has its flaws, does sort of control those kinds of business identifier signs as being less than 4 foot, I think 4 foot square. Perhaps what we need is maybe some clarity. If someone has a business identifier sign for their place of business, I have no concern with them having that sign, or the municipality, I don't think, should be charging them an annual fee for that sign, because they're already paying property taxes and for their business. But perhaps a simple permit to install it would be a good idea, so that it ensures that it's not in any way blocking traffic, or, you know, that it conforms with the size requirement to be smaller. Because again, we don't want to see some astonishingly large billboards suddenly appear in some very awkward places across the municipality. So what I would suggest is that we ask staff to review this bylaw, point out, find what parts of it are conflicting or causing concern, and that we clarify the bylaw, and possibly through the review of other bylaws in other municipalities, because I do think we need a sign bylaw, but if it's unclear to staff how to enforce it, then obviously our bylaw needs a rewrite. Thank you.
I agree 100%. And I believe the sign bylaw is required, especially when you've got sign pollution happening around the townships. So we get a lot of flack, especially during election time. And we know we had a serious problem with a sign being erected that blocked the view of another business on the main road. And that's why we came up with a sign bylaw to start with to govern that. I think it's in that one instance, maybe we went a little overboard with the restrictions here. And I think you're right. If we just had a simple sign bylaw established that staff can understand, as long as it didn't cause any problem for their neighbors with too big a sign, blocking out the view, I think we have to rewrite it. And I think I believe you're right. So where would we go with this recommendation to bring it back to council with suggestions on revising it, or what would the recommendation be?
If I may, through the chair, this would just be a staff direction to review the bylaw and bring it back to council.
Okay, so we can go in that direction then, eh?
Yes, please.
Okay, do I need a recommendation to say that, or no?
No,
Just-
we'll take it as a staff
Direction
direction.
to staff. Thank you, Hillary. That might clear things up down the line, eh?
I hope so.
I know it's very confusing even just getting into it. So 5.1.3, if you give me a second here, I'm still downloading these things off my iPad. Tamarack Road. And Hillary, maybe just bring us up to date on this report, please.
Chair Carl.
Yeah.
I seen Ernie had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ernie. To you, sir. Oh, you're muted.
Your sound is muted.
Your sound's muted, Ernie. Cannot hear you, sir. Ernie, we can't hear you. You can't hear us. Ernie, would you turn your mic on, please? Maybe Amanda can go and turn his mic on, or? There we go.
Oh, how's that?
There
Better.
we go.
You saved me here.
We're in the dark here.
What I was saying was I'm sitting at Amanda's computer and I don't want to mess with anything. So I said I'll be a good boy. So no, getting back to that subject, I think that we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That
Mhm.
bylaw was passed for a reason, and it does address some of the issues. So I think the wise thing is to send it back to staff and have them come back with something that we do need a bylaw, but what I think we need to refine it somewhat. So thank you. I think that was what I was trying to say, and obviously I couldn't do it. So we're good to go.
Thank you, Ernie, very much.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll continue with Tamarack Road report, if you wouldn't mind, Hillary.
Okay, through you, Chair. Tamarack Road, I had the recent correspondence from Jean and Kristen Marchand at 613 Tamarack Road. They have discovered with, I guess, their surveyor that the actual road isn't not owned by the township. And they wrote in that they would give the land if we did all the legwork, surveying, registration, and legal. And on page 31 is the actual road and where the township owns. I would recommend the portion that the township owns just leave as is in case there's developing circumstances that require possibly some type of improvements in that area. Any questions?
It's the old township road versus private ownership, eh? Any questions from council members on this? To you, Mayor Love?
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment. This is typically something the municipality does do to tidy up when we discover that our road is actually not on the property owned by the municipality. Any opportunities that we have to tidy up these issues and ensure that where the road is property that the municipality then will own, and where the road isn't can then be granted to the adjacent property owner. This is very similar to the work that's being done on Ohio Road. So I have no concerns with this. I just wanted to identify that this is typically something the municipality does whenever we discover an issue that part of one of our municipal roads is in fact a forced road. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we're going to have a few of these come up as we get more development going in, and hopefully they don't all come at once or will bankrupt the darn township. But I agree. Is there any other discussion by council? I was wondering if I could get a recommendation read by Sue on this. To you, Sue?
Yes, through the chair, that staff proceed in surveying and registration of the lands in the vicinity of 613 Tamarack from Jean and Kristen Marchand for road purposes, and that all costs be borne by the township, and that costs be expensed to account 10814-785084.
Also moved that. Could I have a seconder, please? That's to Ernie Poplinski. Any further comments? All in favor? And that's passed. Thank you very much. We go on to 5.1.4, which is the Ohio Road transfer. Similar situation here. I'll just download this if I could, please. If you bear with me. Trying to be paperless here. A little bit. Okay. There we go. Please work. There we go. Okay, Hillary, background information. If you can give us a little bit of a overview on this, please.
Okay, to you, Chair. Barb and Daryl Lukovich, I've been working with them nonstop for, I bet you, a year over this. And finally, we came up with a scenario. So from the last meeting, I was supposed to outline the requirements and review an exchange of the lands required to proceed on Ohio Road. So I got email exchange from Barb and Daryl, and I don't know if you've read them. They would like a full out exchange of the road from them, because it was never registered in 1950. The bylaw went and it was never registered on title. And there's, he's gave me a little blurb on the full intent from Frank Cebulski was, I believe, for that exchange that it never happened for the shoreline road allowance. So again, he would, and there's a big difference in the frontage. 92 meters versus 701 meters. The road is 701 meters and the shoreline road allowance in front of their place is 92 meters. And they would request the township to pay for all surveys, including survey on the shoreline road allowance and readjustment of the survey to 66 feet on Ohio Road, because in some areas the road meanders out and we don't, in some areas it's over 100 feet if we went with the existing scenario. So they want us to resurvey to 60 feet, 66 feet. And we pay for all the survey for both sections, shoreline road allowance and Ohio Road, registered on title and all legal fees. And the estimate is $10,000 I gave, lump sum.
And this would solve a 70-year-old problem.
1950, yes, 70 years.
70 years, it's too bad it hadn't gone through prayer list. Any comments from council, discussion on this? To you, Councilor Poplinski, and then I'll get to you, Mayor Love.
I think that this is the third transaction associated with this part of the road. And it will be the thing then, once this is dealt with, then we can do the necessary work that requires to be done. So I fully support this initiative. It's unfortunate that it wasn't done in the past, but it seems that we're always playing catch up and trying to get things straightened out. It's just one more thing that needs to be done. So I would encourage this to happen, and the sooner the better. Because when I look at recently, when I was getting information on the Ohio Road, I find out that the assessment alone there is over 20 million road. So this is an opportunity to be able to correct the situation with ownership and get the work done and move on. So that's my feeling on the subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. And to you, Mayor Love.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question. So we are looking at 701 meters of road. Is there any of the actual existing road on the property across the road from the Lukovich property, or will this get us that entire 701 meters onto municipal property by making this transaction? Or do we have further transactions that need to occur?
This will create the transaction, because I mentioned the property owner across, and that's I believe a mother-in-law or a grandmother to Daryl and Barb, Francis. So there's little snippets from Francis, and she has spoken to Barb and Daryl, and she has no problem with it.
Okay, so this will get us a full 701 meters of road onto municipal property.
Correct.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
To you, Ernie.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. My question is to Hillary. As far as you know, the survey is done on that portion of the road. So what we would be looking at then is picking up the cost of the survey for the waterfront, the exchange. Is that correct?
Correct. The survey, full survey for the shoreline road allowance, and we have to bring in the survey. In some areas, there was 100 feet. He doesn't want to give 100 feet on his side. He said 66 feet from center line. That's the normal way we do it. We don't have it, but it's surveyed that way.
My question was, the survey for that portion has already been paid for, right?
For Ohio Road, yes.
Okay, any further discuss? Oh, to you, Kim. Yes.
Sorry, yeah, yes. So just to clarify then, some parts of the survey would have, on the road itself, would have to be adjusted. You'd have to reduce some parts of it because currently parts of it are at 100 feet, not 66 feet.
That's
Correct.
Okay, now I understand.
That clarifies it. Right on. Any further discussion from council? Could I get you to read the recommendation, Sue, please?
You're muted.
My apologies. That staff proceed in surveying and registration of the roadway in exchange for the shoreline road allowance in the vicinity of property owned by Daryl and Barb Lukovich, Francis Ann Coolis, Ohio Road for the road purposes, and that all costs are borne by the township, and that costs be expensed to activity 148, account number 10814 785084.
Also move that. Could I get a seconder, please? You, Ernie, and any further discussion? All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving along here, 5.1.5, future capital projects. Public Works Sand Dome. And we have a report here, I believe, from Amanda on this. Oh, I just lost everything. Gee whiz. There we go. And maybe Amanda, is she handy? No. Little background information from Amanda.
There she
Oh,
is.
there you are. There you go. Where are you now?
I'm all over the place.
She went home. Could you give us the background information here, Amanda, if you wouldn't mind? I'll give you a few seconds to get settled there.
Sandom, of course. So as we're preparing for 2021 budget, one item that continuously keeps coming up for discussion is the sand dome. So within my report, I just identified how going back 10 years at least, if more, of course, but I just went back to 2010 and we've been saving up for a sand dome for more than 10 years and we're not there yet. We haven't made it there yet. So, sorry, in 2010, the opening balance was $75,000 in the reserve. And then for many years from that time, we were contributing $15,000 to that reserve. And then starting in 2019, we started to up it because we realized the need for this project. So we increased it to 50,000 and then 80,000. And for the 2020 capital budget, we had proposed that 2021 we will be putting in $150,000. So as I was looking forward to future capital projects to put in for the 2021 budget, I thought that it would be a good time now for us to start identifying what might be a priority. And we know that not having the sand dome is hard on our vehicles. We have $313,714 in the reserve. So if we were to prioritize 150,000 in 2021, that would bring us to 464,000. Construction costs are going up significantly due to COVID. Trying to get contractors for projects is difficult because there's so much infrastructure funding out there. And so I wanted to know from council if this is something that they may want to look at for debenturing. If we were to debenture something in the area of $200,000, we'd be looking at an annual payment of $41,000 for 5 years. So I know it's a little premature for the capital budget, but maybe we could start looking at what is the actual cost of this future capital project that we seem to never get to. That might be a start. or what? How does the committee feel about this project?
Thank you, Amanda. Before we start, we've been chasing this big sand dome ever since I've got into council. We've discussed the pricing on this with Megadome, usually is the guy at Ogra. And the price has gone from 350,000 up to 400,000 to $500,000 to 600,000. It's all over the park here, depending on who you discuss it with. What I'd like to see us, we'll never catch up to this thing if it keeps on going. We know for a fact everything that we do now is going to cost us more money next year if we don't start the project. I would like to see at least us requesting a quote on this or requesting a price on this, a firm price. Could we possibly put it into two different options here? A full build for 120,000 tons of sand versus half that price. Maybe we get half of it built for a reasonable price that we could add on to at a later date. And at least we could commence the building of this thing. We're never going to catch up to it the way it's going right now. You've seen it with roads. Same thing with this. I don't know what committee, what our fellow councilors would like to say about it, but I'd like some input on this if I could, please. To you, Councilor Kaplinski.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. It is, we need to be talking about this. I know there's going to be many other challenges as well. And however, I was wondering, do we have a number, and I was going to direct this to you, Amanda, on the actual cost, because if we put in the 150 for 2021, that'll give us $463,714. Is that anywhere near what the anticipated cost would be? Do you know?
I think Hillary may have obtained some numbers previous to the 2020 budget. Hillary, can you speak to that at all?
So last year, yeah, 2019, our neighbors, I believe, their sand dome was at 490. So I believe that in 2021, it will be 600 in that realm, somewhere around there. And it's dependent on size, of course. We store a lot of sand, so you want something that can hold at least 75% of your winter requirement. So I would hazard a guess at 600,000 for the size. You're muted, Carl.
Sorry, humor, love, sorry.
So we would potentially, we could look at borrowing 300,000 and a short-term payback scheme. Certainly if we were to look to borrow the money to complete the project, which would then finally get a firm price on the project and ensure that it just wasn't galloping ahead of us, which is what it seems to have been doing for the last 10 years. It's more expensive. We don't have enough money set aside. If we were to borrow the money, could our treasurer come back with a sense of, if we were to do it on a short-term loan, say a 5-year loan, what would it be that we would be paying for that money? Rather than putting $150,000 into a reserve next year, perhaps we could take this project and get it completed and pay for it over 5 years with a payment that would fit more into line with the money we've been putting away anyways over the last couple of years. So that I'm just asking that question based on the really good interest rates that are available to municipalities at the moment.
If I can speak.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I did draw up a debenture schedule, and I'm just going to share my screen here. There. So at the most recent loan rates, and I hope you can see this well enough.
Yep.
Over a 5-year loan term of $200,000, the total annual payment would be $41,256. So over 5 years, the total interest we would be paying is $6,283. So that is one option for us to be able to make payments of 41,000 plus possibly saving up for future sand domes or future capital projects as well. And there is the option if we wanted to borrow from a reserve that we don't use right now with the bylaw to, you know, pay that back, similar to a debenture schedule that we would enter into. That's an option as well. But then again, we have to recognize that we can't use those funds in the future.
Food for thought here. To you, Mayor Love.
Yes, so I'm thinking if you wanted to expedite this project, rather than putting $150,000 away in 2021's budget, which is again a significant increase, and we will have a lot of budgetary pressures in 2021. I'm wondering if Amanda, if you could find out what the payment would be on 300,000, because that would get us to up to over 600,000, which should be enough to actually do the project in 2021. Are we looking at about 60,000 a year then as a payment? I'm certainly not overly concerned about how much of that is interest, because that's really good, what you just quoted to us.
To you, Mark. First of all, your hand was up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think support that I'm thinking it probably would be around 60,000. And when I look at, you know, we sit here every year and it gets higher and higher. And I think we have to do something. You know, in 2019, we put away 50, 2018, 80, and next year we're looking at 150. So spending the 60,000 annually is actually going to cost us less to get it done, and you know, stop putting it off and watching the prices go up. The 1.04 interest rate, we're not going to get anything better than that, I don't think.
To you, Dave.
Yes, to you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think we have to make that move. I think the key word that Amanda had mentioned was necessity. We definitely need it. And I think the first step would be to get an estimate on this project. And then we can figure out what we need to do, like to borrow on this here and get this project done. So, you know, we're sort of guessing with numbers. I mean, 600,000, maybe it's less than more, but I think we need to know the number that we're going to end up borrowing if we're going to go ahead with this. Thank you very much.
To you, Ernie, and then I'll get to you, Sue.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that the mayor's suggestion of getting a quote for the 300,000 would be wise. I think that's what we. Okay.
Thank you, Sue.
Yes, if I may suggest, I would like to add to the minutes that council directs staff to bring back a report during budget 2021 deliberations for council consideration, including a review of 5-year term debenture schedule for 300,000 and quotations for the sand dome.
Right. Amanda, would you like to speak on something here? Yeah.
I'm just going to share my screen here.
Share your screen.
And so this is what the debenture schedule would look like for 300,000. So we would be making an annual payment of 62,543, and the total interest paid back would be $12,716.
That sounds even more reasonable. Like, I think we just had I was talking with Mike here, and he was suggesting that the local township next to us just finished building one that was around 600,000. So that's in the ballpark, and I would like to see at least a quote going out, request for price on this, and get a firm price on it, and then we can discuss this afterwards as far as financing goes, as long as we're all in agreement that this is the way to go. That's fairly reasonable as far as interest goes. We're not getting penalized too badly with 1.04%. Should take advantage of it, unless it goes to 0%, then we can really cash in. But to you, Ernie, comment, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just a short request. If Amanda, you could print that for us, I'd appreciate it.
So Sue, what do we do here? Just direction to staff, like you were just mentioning? Is that a recommendation or just a direction to staff to follow through on this?
Just a direction to staff, Chair.
So you've got everything you need then? You don't need us to go through your recommendation or anything?
No, we're fine, thank you.
Okay. Amanda, you're finished? You've got that under control, I guess?
Okay.
Thank you very much for that. Maybe we're going to see a sand dome, eh, guys? Yeah, bonus for sure. We have one last recommendation here, and it's 5.1.6 connecting link intake. And Hillary, I think you've got this one under your perusal here. Where's the connecting link? Here we go. And bring us up to date on this, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Through you, Chair. So again, the connecting link, this intake is open for 2021. And we had Mr. Jason Ward from Perspective Engineering through Mike and myself. We came up with some improvements required on the connecting link. There is issues there. So same as before, 90% funded, 10% township. So your best thing here is if you could all go to page 42, the report from Perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you look at the bullet points at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one, remove asphalt on the paved boulevards that were not previously paved. It's all cracked up. Second bullet point, micro surface the roadway from curb and gutter. There is cracking going on. So it's similar to, I believe, micro surfacing is from Killu on. The MTO did it a couple of years ago and it really works well. It prevents water infiltration. For third bullet, repaint the lines and redo epoxy sidewalks after the microsurface has been completed. And then the fourth bullet, a very important bullet. Adjust and pour concrete aprons around the existing manholes. We're having structure problems there recently, and Mike can attest to that. There's holes in certain areas. We should redo the tops. They're getting really bad. And the fifth thing is below the fourth bullet. There's a big problem from Highway 62 onto Highway 60 at the gas station. Every truck that I meet trying to make that corner goes into the westerly lane. They don't have no choice. So if he could identify through a survey, even a cheater lane, anything is better than nothing there. That's what we'd be after, half a lane. If we don't have the land, then we'll go from there. But I believe that you could at least get in a cheater lane, it's called, half a lane. So the trucks at least can make that corner. When they're heading from 62 west, they have a fighting chance because they can get into the lane, the left-hand lane, and you have a whole laneway. But heading east, it's impossible for them. So those are the 5 things we would redo. And the portion that the township would require is in the range of 40 to 50,000, the municipal portion. Any questions?
Yeah, council, got any discussion on this? Anybody want to comment on it? Sounds like a great idea, especially that trucking thing and those, you ever hit those covers with the motorcycle or your drainage that you get bounced around quite a bit. So it's pretty dangerous. To you, Ernie, please. Thank you.
Here, just one question to Hillary. When was this road done? The big project 2 years ago or 3?
I would think it's about 3, at least 3 or 4. If not longer, because that's when we put in the interlock and stuff.
So we need a recommendation on this, Sue, I think.
Yes, if I may, that the operations manager is directed to apply for the 2021-2022 Connecting Link funding intake as proposed.
And I also move that if I can get a seconder to you, Mark Wilmer. And is there any further discussion from council on this? I don't see. Oh, to you, Sue.
Just clarification, when we were talking to Jason from Perspective, is he proposing that the funding would allow to pay for the survey even though Highway 62 is county? I thought there was an issue previously that because it was a county road, we had to have the county involved in that.
They will pay for the survey, and then we determined after if there is county involvement, we would take it from there to see if they would fund part of that, because they can't apply for Connecting Link upper tier. But in conjunction with us, maybe in this instance, they would be able to tag along with our, if there is a way to do this. We don't even know if there is a way to even get in a cheater lane. Or a
So can I
wider apron.
sorry, can I suggest possibly then that we see if Jason can send the proposed survey that and the application, and maybe it would help our application if we have some something from the county as well to join that application, because it
No.
impacts their capital as well, does it not?
Yeah, the survey, we're applying for the survey in this funding model. It hasn't been completed yet.
But do we not want to advise the county that we're doing that? No? Okay, just a question.
Can. I guess there's nothing to advise them on. Like, we're looking at the feasibility, if there is any way. If the corner picket is right out at the highway, there is no way from,
Okay.
From McEwen or Esso. Well, it's McEwen now.
Thank
You, Mayor Love.
I can't see the county having a problem with us not spending any of their money to do a survey. I mean, basically, it's going to provide a document that will further their knowledge of the roadway. So I think it would be a good idea just to, have a conversation with Mr. Perkins to let him know that we're putting this application in, and it's just to identify whether or not there's the potential for any way to modify this particular intersection to make it a little bit more amenable to large trucks. But we're not asking them to pay for it at this point. We're investigating. And so I think just letting them know would be sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on this? In that case, I'll call for a vote, please. All in favor? And that's carried. And I'll pass it back to the chair, Mayor Love. I will resign my position. Thank you very much.
Chair, you're not done yet.
Oh, come on.
You have correspondence.
Oh, is that under my peripheral here? Okay. We have a letter from Helen and Heinz Schmidt. This is regarding the site survey we did with Renfrew County and the operations manager for Renfrew County, and Mayor Love and myself and our operations supervisor and our manager and Councillor Poplinski and Kammermeer. And this is just their communication to us about how they do not want parking being developed on the highway, off the highway. And I'll leave it to you people to read that. You've got it on your in your mail. And we have a letter from Calvin and Charlene Stone with regards to County Road 62 parking, someone in the same vein, kind of objecting to it, which we received from them. And let's see, what else have we got here? Renfrew County Operations Committee report on Defoe Road. Excuse me, and this is just confirming what they were saying, that in 2022, there will be work done on Defoe Road. They're going to do hardened shoulders work, part of the active transportation policy. But this is well-deserved, and they have confirmed that it's in August 2020. that was received, a summary of tenders and quotations received in the month of August 20, and tenders have been awarded under the authority of the Director of Public Works. So Defoe Road is a go, which is nice to hear, and they still have the parking under abeyance, the parking on Highway 62 under abeyance, so they haven't referenced that yet from county. Have I missed anything here, Kim Love, or no? It's to you?
Okay, well, this isn't, the reason I provided this report to council is because this isn't quite the great news that we had hoped for. The county is basing the decision they've made to do Heart and Shoulders based on their own policy, which says that every effort will be made to maximize the width of the shoulder area without incurring substantial costs to expand the platform width, unless the core capital program dictates an expansion to the roadways platform. Our problem is the core capital program doesn't dictate an expansion to the platform. And as council is aware, the platform throughout the entire area we were talking about is not sufficiently wide enough to get a meter on both sides. So if you look at actually what is recommended in this report, they are looking at Heart and Shoulders from County Road 62 up to an address, which when you Google it takes you as far as Perrier Road. It doesn't take you any further. So I just wanted council to be aware that that is at the moment what county is looking to do due to the restriction of the problem of the road platform being too narrow to actually be able to put Heart and Shoulders through the section of Defoe Road that traverses Madonna House and the school. So it's a half a good news story. It isn't a whole one.
Excuse me. I believe we were concentrating on one side of the road more than the other because we lacked any kind of 1 meter distance in a lot of those curves. So I think the Heart and Shoulders on the riverside was going to be the concentrated portion. And I thought it was all the way up to where they were starting there. Didn't they have work going from, where was it? What road did they're going to start?
Lower Craigmont.
Craigmont Road. They were going to start that. That was up to Craigmont. They were saying they were going to do Heart and Shoulders. Now, so that's off the table, I guess, is it? Is that what you're saying, Mayor?
I'm saying that based on what came to County Council in a report, it appears to be off the table. Now, I would suggest that our staff have further discussions with county staff about that, just to verify that point, because as we're all aware, one of the key areas where, as you mentioned, is not what this report says is going to happen. Now, if there's any way the county would do a Heart and Shoulder on perhaps with the county. Okay, my connection is unstable. Anyway, so I would just ask that our staff verify that situation and ensure, oh, I'm really breaking up apparently. I would ask that our staff verify with the county staff, this is how I'm interpreting it, is what they are suggesting. And if there's any room to do a Heart and Shoulder on one side, if they could just have that discussion.
Sounds like there's a little miscommunication from the time we were down there to this point in time, isn't there? Maybe that, as you suggest, maybe we can get our operations people to discuss it with Renfrew County and verify that this is correct, because I thought everything was tickety boom when we left the meeting. Everybody was on the same page here. And now that you're saying they're only doing half the job, that's not appropriate. Not from what they committed to us while we were standing there at the side of the road. So maybe you could clarify that with them, Hillary. I mean, somebody's let the ball drop here. It seems to be at their end. So I'll leave it with you, maybe. Like you suggest, Mayor, we can get together with their operations people and just redefine what went on. Because that's not acceptable. They promised that they would get that through. They should never have changed their attitude between now and then, unless they had a reason for it. I'd like to know what the reason would be. Other than that, anybody else want to comment on it? To you, Ernie?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. I think that, yes, I think it's absolutely essential that we do that and stress the importance of, because of the safety issue, because the real safety issue here is really starts around Perrier Road at the start of the Madonna House property, and it carries right over to where the Craigmont Road intercedes. And I think that's the area of major concern, because that's where you have pedestrian traffic nearly all day long, all afternoon into the evenings, because of people, hundreds of people walking from the Madonna House buildings up to the old convent property and the church and the school. So I think that, yes, the ball appears to have been dropped, and I think it's our responsibility to bring that to their attention, and I'm sure that will happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? I guess that finishes off my session here. Pass it over, to you, Mayor, or Councillor Kaplinski.
Yes, I had further comments in relation to the letters that we received regarding the parking. I just wanted to bring to the attention of council in the one from Mrs. Schmidt. She makes reference that they are the owners of the property that we're talking about here. Now, I understand that roadway is what, 90 feet? Is it, Hillary? The roadway itself, not the travel portion, but the
right of way. Yes.
90 feet?
I would hazard a guess it'd be 90 feet. It's not 120, I believe, but
No.
it's 90 in that area.
90 feet is a substantial amount of property there. So right now there's vehicles. I noticed yesterday and again today as I drove through there were trucks and cars parked along there, people going across to the laundromat to take advantage of the services that's being offered there. But people are constantly parking there. So I think that I would like to see us continue with our discussions with county, and keeping in mind, of course, the concerns of Mrs. Schmidt, and also of the other folks, the Stones. Keeping in mind what they're telling us right here, but we need to also look after the other needs regarding parking and so on. Hopefully, a lot of it will be taken by the additional spots we've created, but I don't think that we should neglect this endeavor right here. So I'm sure that we can come up with something that's suitable for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments on this report? Any comments now? I'll pass it over to you, Mayor, if we can get off the hot seat here.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm going to suggest that we complete water and wastewater and then take a short lunch break, if that's okay with committee. So with that, I'm going to, we're doing operations, water, wastewater, and facilities. I'll pass it over to Councillor Schulist, who is the chair, and just remind him that 6.1.1, the aqua invoices actually were removed from the agenda. Councillor Schulist.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. This is going to be short then. Yeah, those were up to regular operating cost, and we took care of it, right? Before, is that what's happened? Okay.
Yes,
So
Deputy Clerk advised that during the special council meeting, we had already brought them forward.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to take care of 6.2, correspondence and information. 6.2.1, a Neptune water meter post-construction meeting, September 18th, 2020. Suzanne, I see your name there and with other staff, so maybe you can give us a little update on this. Thank you.
This was just to inform council. You'll notice that this post-construction report was dated September 18th. We have not received the last report. The deputy treasurer is away today, so she was hoping to speak to this. The metering project is completed, I believe, and Amanda, you can clarify if I'm incorrect, if you know anything different. I believe that there's only 10 which are deemed to be not installed, and they are meters that we will change as they come. Were some different health issues and reasons that we couldn't go into the home. but we deem that this project is completed. We have received a lot of really good compliments. We've received a lot of good comments from individuals that found that they were efficient and quick. And on the staff side of things, we wanted to acknowledge Neptune's professionalism, as well as how great it was to receive daily reports as to what road they were working on, how many installations they had. They were always proactive in getting staff involved if they were having difficulty in reaching any tenants or owners, at which time our student Nathan was able to assist, as well as the deputy treasurer. So this is just, we just didn't want to lose sight of advising council that the metering project is complete. And we will bring you the last report from Neptune at your next council committee meeting.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam CEO. Job well done. Absolutely, a good report. Any questions from council? Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, for the soft refusals, it says on the report 6. How do we intend to address the soft refusals? Is it just a question of delay during COVID? Or do we have some approach where we can get those meters changed? Because once all the other meters have been changed, as we see now, those meters may be less accurate than everyone else's meter. And I don't think that's fair to allow the situation to continue indefinitely. They should be a time frame in which those meters will be updated to new meters.
If I may, with council indulgence, I do believe we can get Janice to include that in her final report, and how they plan to deal with those final few.
Okay, very good. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, then we received this report, all positive. Unfinished business, is there any unfinished business? I don't see any. Madam CEO, do you see any unfinished business?
No, we do not. Thank you.
Okay, very good. I am finished. To you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Chair Schulist. At this time, I'm wondering if council would like to take a brief lunch break, if we could maybe take a half an hour and come back at 1:15. Could I get someone to move that, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, when we come back, we'll go into fire protection and emergency management. Thank you, everyone. Have a good lunch.